Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about the misconceptions that I've experienced during my relatively short time as a musician. Let's go. The first one is that singers get all the ladies. I'm gonna level with you. That one is 100% true. No, it isn't. 2, that you can sing exactly how you want to and sounding exactly perfectly no matter what situation you're in. This one is actually incredibly damaging to inexperienced and potentially young musicians, especially if you're inexperienced about how to get the best out of your voice and how to keep it good and having good vocal health. Before you start to know about that, it can be really difficult to get the best sound out of your voice anyway, but the voice can be affected by so many different factors. It can be affected by diet, emotional well-being, fitness, and a whole myriad of other things. When I first started out, I used to get so stressed when I was recording, especially if they were paying me any amount of money or anything for doing it. And I would get so stressed that I just wasn't getting the vocal take exactly right. It was just becoming a real issue for me, and I just thought, oh, that must mean I'm not good. Everyone else can do it like that, why can't I do it like that? But then, obviously, as I progressed as a musician, I kind of learned that that isn't the case at all, and sometimes clips can be used for other things, and there's just so many vocalists that feel that way, that they have to be perfect every single time, and it's just not the way it is. Like, sometimes it can take 10-15 minutes just to warm your voice up to be ready. Potentially, if it's hot or cold, like, you have to make sure that your voice is ready for that. When I was training to be a pro singer, we literally had these massively long lists of foods and drinks and stuff that we just could not eat. So on the list was dairy, fizzy drinks, any type of drinks that have any type of caffeine in, because they all affect your voice in a negative way. Obviously in this video I am giving you the incredibly kind of dumbed down and basic way of explaining this. If you want me to go into more detail about vocal health, then please just leave it in the comments and I'm more than happy to do a video about vocal health. But one thing that was on the list of things that you couldn't drink or eat before a performance was water. Water? Why's water on the list? So essentially you're not allowed to drink any kind of cold or iced water before you perform. Even though it can feel good when you drink water like that, it can really soothe the throat, it's actually incredibly bad because it essentially constricts the muscles in your vocal cords and means that you can't use them effectively. So it's like the equivalent of throwing a massive vat of icy cold water over you. Your body's gonna go and that's essentially what happens to your cords. They become very constricted and essentially you don't have the flexibility that you usually would. Obviously, I'm not trying to make it so that you don't eat anything, because that would be silly in itself. Like, you have to eat. That is incredibly important, you know, so you don't die. But essentially, you need to learn what works for you. I think that's the most important bit of advice I can give you, because some things work for some people and don't work for the others, and that is essentially the way that it works. You just need to learn through trial and error, essentially, what works for you. Like, for example, when I was in education, I may have gone to a few graded gigs, eating chocolate and drinking milkshake. And the looks that I got from various people were not the best. I still did well though. That being a singer means that you can sing any song regardless of key. This one is quite a big one because it can have a massive effect on a singer's self-esteem and motivation for their craft. For example, if you can't sing your favourite song, but you can sing along to your grandmother's Boys II Men CD, and sound incredibly insane, then that can be really discouraging. Also, if your grandmother listens to Boys II Men, then, you know, great. My advice to you is learn what key you sound best in. If you do that, you can really work out what fits you and what songs and styles and sounds work best for you and your voice. As I have a deep voice, it's very unlikely that I'm ever going to be able to sing a Justin Timberlake song, for example, in the key that it was originally written. But if I know what key is my optimal key, I can transpose that song and put it into a style and a key that suits my voice, so it sounds good coming from me. Because let's face it, I'm never going to be able to keep up with Justin Timberlake, you know, he is a bit of a music legend. That lots of mainstream musicians use autotune and other such effects, and that's okay. This point sort of leads off the unrealistic expectations that we sometimes put on ourselves as musicians. When I was a lot younger, I used to listen to a lot of music, and a lot of it was essentially very Americanized, and in some cases I would describe it as Disney pop, because it was very produced and in some cases had quite a lot of autotune. In that time, I basically spent a lot of time listening and trying to replicate the sounds that they had, and I just couldn't do it. And it wasn't because I was bad, as I thought at the time, it was because they were using computers, essentially, to make them sound perfect, make the notes sound perfect, and even to the point where I didn't even notice, because I just assumed that that's how musicians sounded. And it wasn't the case at all. Like, now I have more of a background in music and music tech. I mean, sort of, I'm not any kind of wizard, like Craig does most of the mixing in the band, so it really isn't my forte, but because I can hear it now, like I notice it when it's been done, I feel like it's really helped me to develop realistic expectations of what my voice can and can't do, and being able to tailor what I do based on that, which I think is incredibly important as a musician. To know your limits, to know what you can do, and know what you're good at, because I'm sure you are good at something. You know, there is always going to be a song that you can sing better than me. There's always going to be a song that you can sing better than someone. Like, we all have this innate gift, but we just need to know what we're good at. Having said that, I don't want to try and misplace the fact that it is hard work. You do have to train. Like, having a bit of talent isn't always just what you need. You need to be able to learn, because I think there is also an arrogance to some musicians, myself included. Before I kind of actually trained, I thought that having my own like ability, like being naturally good at it, meant that I was just okay, but that is not the case at all. And I'm so glad that I actually listened to some of my lecturers when they taught me, and decided to take everything that they were saying on board, because I've become such a better musician because of it. Like, when I listen to old recordings of my stuff from 5 years ago, I'm there thinking, oh my god, that guy can't sing. But because I've learned all this stuff, that's what I can do in retrospect. So I just didn't want to try and make out like, oh yeah, it's really easy, everyone can do it. Because there is a lot of work and effort and training and loving it. The main thing is you need to love it, because you need to practice all the time. Much to my parents, friends and roommates' disappointment. That, because you're a singer, you know every song literally learn to man. Now, this one has always baffled me, because I don't really know why people would assume that we just know every single song that was ever made. If anything, being a musician means that you would know a lot less generally, because you've always been introduced to so many different genres. I find myself being incredibly limited when I'm learning sets, because I spend so much time learning sets. For example, say I'm doing an event and they, like a wedding for example, and they have 20 songs that they want me to learn to the letter. I will not listen to any other music while I do that, because I need to get those songs in my head. I need to know them inside out, I need to know them forwards and backwards, and I just need to be able to get them in my head, so I don't listen to other music while I do that. The strangest part of the whole situation is the fact that people seem to get incredibly offended when you haven't heard of that band that they really like. Especially when they ask you to play a song for them and you don't know any of the songs that they know. It just becomes a little bit awkward. In those sorts of situations, I usually just try and play something that I know that everybody knows, so that at least they can gauge, you know, how good I am, because I am a bit of a show-off sometimes. I will actively admit it, my band will tell you. So do you know an indie band that has a stupidly long name for no reason? No, I haven't heard of them. Oh my god, you haven't? You haven't heard of them? They're like the best band in the world. How have you never heard of them? Oh my god, have you been living under a rock? Oh my god. I'm sorry, I can listen to them now. No, I'm gonna go pick up my Fall Out Boy CDs from your house and then we're done. My final point is people expecting you to work for nothing. I think a lot of musicians have been through this, especially musicians that are just starting out. There are people that will try and use your services for nothing, or just to try and pay you in something like a beer or something along those lines. When they don't take into account travel costs, how much all of your equipment costs, or any other factors that have to come into that. For me personally, this seems to happen particularly with friends. I just find that because I'm a musician, they seem to do that and expect me to just sort of do it for free. And because of that, it makes me feel like they don't respect my career path. For example, if I was a builder or a plumber, yes, the image of me being competent in something like that is absolutely hilarious. I can literally hear my dad laughing about that, the idea of me being able to build something or fix something. People wouldn't ask me to do that for free. They wouldn't ask me to build a wall or put in a new toilet for nothing. So why do they ask me to do it when that is my job, that is my career path? Don't get me wrong, if I was in a position that I was able to do it and there wasn't too many travel costs or other kind of debts involved, then I would be happy to do it for a friend if they asked me in that way, provided I didn't have any other gigs or anything else to do at that time. But I do find the fact that they don't ask, they just sort of expect it, and that's what kind of grinds my gears about it a little bit, because if they asked me about it, I would probably be more likely to say yes. I'm not one of these people that will never play a free show. For if it's for something, or especially if it's for charity, I'm always about playing shows for charity, so always happy to do that. So if you have a charity show, hit me up. We might be able to sort something out. But the worst part about this one isn't even friends, because I know that they do want to support you in every way that they can usually. The worst part is when promoters come along and try and explain to you that you don't need to be able to get money from this gig. You just need to be able to get exposure, because all the stuff you're going to get from this gig, that's gonna blow your mind, and you're going to be making so much money that you don't even need money from this gig. You just need the exposure to get the money later. And in this scenario, you should just be grateful and happy that the promoter chose you, because they could have chosen someone else. No, I'm sorry. I've spent lots of money training to do this. I have lots of expensive equipment. It probably will cost me an amount of money to get there. I am not going to play for free. If the place isn't a charity and has the means to pay me, I would like to be paid. I mean, it's not like I can take exposure bucks to the bank, is it? Hi there, welcome to the bank. What would you like to deposit today? 20,000 in exposure bucks? Sir, we don't take that here. Get out. The thing is I do understand the concept of having exposure gigs, but a lot of promoters will use them as some kind of free ticket to get bands to do things, and it's especially bad because they will prey on bands that are good but are incredibly inexperienced in the industry and don't really know what they're doing, and that's not really fair. Especially when the amount the promoter makes means that they definitely could afford to pay the band, even if it is a little bit. I've heard countless stories of friends and friends of friends being taken advantage of by various people, not specifically promoters, but promoters are sometimes some of those people that do that. So it's just the stories I hear. Some of the times they are promoters, but generally people will try that on whoever they are. That's it for this video. If you want to give it a like and subscribe, that'd be great, and turn on the notifications because apparently I upload regularly at the moment. That's literally it. I hope you're having a wonderful time. I hope you're staying as resilient as you possibly can because things are going on, and I hope that you feel loved because you are. Peace out.